We owe no man anything. We own our car. The ministry owns it. We own our house. We don't owe it. We're not in debt. That's the faithfulness of the Lord. So that helps you to understand a little bit about my life. Now, I want to go forward now into Great Britain and how I got called to walk Great Britain. 3:30 one morning, I was awakened out of a sound sleep by a voice speaking the same name 3 times in a row. Here was the word, Pembroke. Pembroke! Pembroke! Just like that. I sit right up in bed. I sit up so fast, my wife said, "Are you all right?" I says, "Yeah, did you hear that?" And she said, "No." We had 4 babies in diapers at that time. We had twin girls, and Mark was slow because the twins were born. She didn't have time to train him, so he was over 2 years old and not potty trained yet. And then we had little Henry, the baby. So we had twin girls, we had the baby boy, and then we had Mark, who seemed to want to take forever to be potty trained. And so it wore us out. We had a full business. And we were running a Christian school at that time and teaching our children Christian school. My wife was running that. So we were a very busy family. So I could see why she's turned over and said, "Well, I'm tired. I'm going back to sleep." I got out of bed, got dressed, went down, got my encyclopedia out, and looked up the name Pembroke. And I found out that it was the name of a castle and a place in West Wales called the Little England of Wales. And I was reading that. And the Lord said to me, I want you to go to Pembroke and walk Pembroke. That was my first English or England city to walk in Europe. And I said, "Lord, you'll have to tell my wife." And He did. And after my wife and I confirmed it, within 6 days, I had been going to a nightclub, and I actually had a table out next to the dance floor called the chaplain's table in the spinning wheel in Canby, Oregon. I had led so many people to the Lord. I led the nightclub owner's wife to the Lord. His heart, he was just a big teddy bear, Lyle Grove, just a jewel of a man. He let me win people to the Lord. One night I won 7 people to the Lord there in the spinning wheel. Didn't get out of there till 3 o'clock in the morning. We had a revival. I looked over at Lyle, tears running down his face. I says, "Lyle, I'm making you lose your customers." He cried. He was weeping. He said, "Henry, if you get every one of them saved," he said, "I'll turn it into a restaurant." A family restaurant. And so that man had a dream. And in the dream, the Lord told him to fill out a check and deliver it to our house. At that point, I don't think he had ever given me a check. This was before I became chaplain of that bar. I had just gone in a few times witnessing, and hadn't won his wife to the Lord yet, actually. He came by in his Cadillac convertible, called my kids that were playing in the yard, handed them an envelope and said, "Is your daddy here?" "Well, no, he's on the ships." "Well, when he comes back, make sure he gets this. Now, don't be playing with this out in the yard. I want you to take it in the house right away and give it to somebody." "Is your mama here?" "Yes." "Give it to her and tell him it's just for your dad." "You understand?" "Yes." "Okay." So there was a check that paid for my ticket to Great Britain, to be there 6 weeks, all my expenses, and to take care of my wife and my children while I was gone. $1,700. A check for $1,700. At that point, the biggest donation we'd ever received. My wife had calculated how much we'd need. Guess what she calculated? $1,600 and some dollars. $1,700 more than covered it. That began my foreign work of being out of the country. And I left on Thanksgiving Day that year and was over there and until into January and walking and praying. And it began very interesting experiences. I finished Pembroke. I went to Swansea, began walking and praying Swansea. And then I went to Maesteg and began praying Maesteg. And one day, while I was walking up above this town, up across this pasture, about a 20-acre pasture, lined by hedgerows. That's hedges. They call them hedgerows. They don't have fences in England. They have hedgerows. They're either made of stone they've taken out of the field, or they're made of briars that have long thorns. And they keep them trimmed nicely. And they put stiles over them. That's steps up to the top and over them to get in and out of those pastures. They're stiles. They don't have gates, generally. Or they may have a big gate. But I was walking kind of up a grade across this 20-acre pasture when all of a sudden I hear this clumpity, clumpity, clump. And here comes this big bull running straight at me. I mean, he is locked in on me, a big black bull. And I had been in Israel, and I had bought a Jerusalem hat, a white hat, and it had Jerusalem on it. And so I pulled that hat off, and I was waving it, yelling, trying to get that bull to turn. Well, what I didn't realize, the rancher told me, you were just letting that bull lock in on you, fella. I mean, he just said, keep it up. I can see you well, you know. That bull had his head down, his horns coming at me, and I was waving my hat, hollering at the top of my voice, when all of a sudden, I had looked a full 360 around that field to see if I could run when that bull first started running toward me and jump over the hedgerow. By then I had learned how. I had a backpack on, and how you go over a hedgerow. I had to do it many times when a big truck would be coming down those narrow roads. You jump backwards with your backpack into the thorns of the hedgerow, flipping your feet, and you land on the other side. And you don't get any thorns. Your backpack maybe gets a few prickings, but you don't get any thorns. And I had learned that. Well, there was no hedgerow nearby, and I was about center point of 20 acres. So run as fast as you can. That bull's going to get you. So I decided. That's why I pulled my hat off yelling. And I had looked a full 360. There was nobody in that pasture but the bull and I. Believe me. And I was waving my hat yelling as that bull was coming at me, when all of a sudden I heard a loud shout off to my right and behind me. It so amazed me, I looked back, momentarily forgetting about the bull, and here is a young man coming at me with tennis shoes on, Levi's, and a yellow t-shirt, kind of short, wavy brown hair, and the most beautiful blue eyes. He's about 12 feet angular behind me. And as I'm looking at him so shocked, where did you come from? The bull swishes right beside me to the right, goes between me and the young man, and makes a circle around behind him, running back up into the pasture. I'm still watching this young man, wondering, where did you come from? He gets about this close to me. He looks at me with the sweetest smile, and just turns and goes on. Doesn't say a word. I go on heading for the stile. I'm going to get out of that pasture. The bull's running up there. I don't want it to do a circle and come back at me. And I thought, I didn't even thank him for calling his bull off of me. So I turned to thank him. Now this was split seconds before I turned. Enough time to think. I didn't even thank him. I turned. He couldn't have been just walking at that point more than 12, 15 feet away from me. And he's gone. I'm looking everywhere. Where did he go? I could see a person in a yellow t-shirt clear down the hill in the valley. Those hedgerows are low, and I was up higher. I could not see one yellow t-shirt anybody. And all of a sudden, the scripture came to me out of Isaiah 63, verse 9. In all, how much is all? Huh? A part, some, or a little bit, or all. In all their affliction. Is that an affliction? It can soon be a very serious one. In all their affliction, he was afflicted. Who's that? Jesus.